I think it's clear some teams get some favorable whistles at some points, and that's just because of who they are. A little bit about March Madness.
Yep.
So that didn't go well.
Man.
I'd said on our last show, like, oh, I'm gonna change a bunch of this before, and I did, and it just didn't make it a whole lot better. Yeah, I only got one out of the final four teams right. On the bracket I showed on the show, I got 0. So I switched to Kansas last second, which I guess made it a little better, but I got destroyed in every single bracket pool.
Yeah.
So didn't matter a whole lot. I mean, some of the big headlines, obviously, were St. Peter's Peacocks taking down Kentucky and then proceeding to take down Murray State and then Purdue before getting dominated in the Elite Eight. First 15 seed to ever make the Elite Eight, ever. Mm-hmm. And they were a very fun team to watch.
Well, it was the lowest seed in general, wasn't it? Or the highest seed, lowest seed?
I think they say lowest, but yeah.
Lowest seed to ever make the Elite Eight ever?
Yeah.
Like,
definitely, yeah.
That's pretty ridiculous.
Only 2 other 15 seeds have made the Sweet 16 before this. And, yeah, they couldn't get the job done there. St. Peter's did before getting smacked up by North Carolina to set up North Carolina versus Duke in the Final Four. Man. It's so funny. You look at all the upsets this year, all the crazy stuff that happened.
And it still ends up with UNC and Duke.
And the Final Four is Duke, UNC, Villanova, and Kansas.
Which, I mean, is pretty predictable. I mean, relatively, that's pretty crazy. I wanted UNC in my Final Four, but I put Gonzaga over them, which I regret.
You could have both in the Final Four. They were in different quadrants.
Oh, were they?
I think you did have UNC.
I did have UNC then. Yeah.
You had them in the Final Four, but you put Gonzaga in the championship.
Yeah, because I did have Gonzaga over UNC.
So I had Texas Tech in the Final Four and in the championship, actually. And, man, I thought they had it against Duke. I really did.
Man.
But March Madness is not rigged, okay? I'm going to put that out there.
Rigged.
It's not.
From the person who always hints that stuff is rigged.
But I think it's clear some teams get some favorable whistles at some points, and that's just because of who they are, right?
Yeah.
It felt like Duke was getting a couple, and maybe that's just me and being biased for my bracket, which is very possible, but it felt like it a little bit.
Well, there was a ton of talks about horrible reffing in some of these. I forgot what game it was. Wasn't there one where the guy was hanging on the rim? He tried to swing back to get his feet under him.
If he would have let go, he would have gotten hurt.
He would have
it was a terrible
swung
call.
his feet under him.
It was a close game at that point too.
What game was that? Wasn't it?
I think that was Illinois-Houston.
I think so. But it was very close, and then after that, it wasn't close. That call really hurt him.
Yeah.
But there's only 2. I think there's only one bracket after day 1 that survived.
It's insane.
And then it died at day 2. It was, we have it here. Fewer than 1,000 brackets remained after the St. Peter's and Kentucky game. And that just speaks for itself.
That was the last game of day 1, wasn't it? Or second to last?
I think so. And then there was 192 perfect brackets after Ohio State and Loyola. Did I say that right?
No, there's 192 entering that day. After Ohio State won, only 91 were left.
Yep. There we go.
And then, yeah.
You could read better than me.
Apparently. Yeah, and then Illinois beat Chattanooga barely. Yeah. And that knocked out the second to last. But I don't think any bracket made it perfect through the second
day.
I don't think anyone made it through the first round.
Yeah.
And there's so many brackets out there. That's just how crazy this stuff is.
Well, and it's funny because the women's bracket, I think there's a couple still perfect brackets. I mean, there's probably 7 or 3.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't fill one out.
There's pretty theirs. I think they had at least 1,000 in the first round, and it was 200. There's still, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's still a couple perfect brackets, or at least very close ones, or they lasted much longer than the men's one, which is pretty crazy. But man. And also, since we're from Boise State, we have to talk about Boise State here.
Yeah, we do. We gotta. Okay, the more I think about this, I'm not that mad.
We had a really good game at the end of the.
I'm mad at the draw we got. I'm not mad that we lost because Memphis is a better basketball team.
Yeah.
Just straight up, they're just a better
team we've actually faced this year, and we could tell that.
Yeah.
And
they were very, very good. They were underseeded. Obviously, Bates was out with injury for a long time, and they were ranked top 10 in the preseason poll. Like, that's how much talent they had. It just didn't all come together. And they
almost beat Gonzaga.
Though that home stretch down the end of the season, they finally started putting it together. So them as a 9 seed was lethal. Like, they had the talent of a top 4 seed, really.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they came out and smacked us in the mouth. They were up 19 at half, and then we battled back.
Like, the thing is, though,
this is why I can't even be mad. We came out and got hit in the mouth by a more talented team, and battled back and made it like, I think it was a 5-point game at one point when Tyson got that rebound, and then he got his pocket picked, and they got a layup, and that was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
We got it down to 5 with the ball in our hands. Like,
yeah, like
it was great.
It was pretty ridiculous because if you look at all of our games this year, we've always had horrible starts.
Quite a few.
And then we end up pulling it back in like the second half. Second half of the game.
We just couldn't score in the first half, really.
Yeah, and that's
what defend.
Yeah, like,
to be honest.
And that was our biggest flaw. Everyone was talking about our free throw shooting and everything, but it was just basically our biggest flaw was not being able to play in the first half.
Yeah.
Like,
it sucks to send Abu out with a first round loss, but he was awesome in the second half. He was so good in the second half. Like,
if I remember correctly, I think we
legend, man. It sucks that he's gonna be gone next year. He was great.
I think we shot like 18% free throw in the first half, and then like
something
90 in like the second.
Could not buy a free throw or anything.
And
to
we
be
even
honest.
outscored. So we outscored significantly, almost by the same margin in the second half, Memphis, as they did in the first half with us.
Well, yeah,
which is
we almost came back.
Yeah, and it was pretty crazy because like if we would have kept that up, it would have been lights out. Like at least if we were able to score at least a little bit more and not just stay at 18 freaking points for like the whole first half, then
it was rough.
It would have been close, but I don't know if we would have made it through Memphis or through Gonzaga because if Memphis couldn't do it, and they were very close.
Memphis, okay. You want to talk about some favorable whistles? I think Memphis got screwed a little bit.
Yeah,
did you watch that game?
Yeah.
Everyone's telling me no and that I'm crazy, but I don't know, man. Like,
because
notice how they had him in the first half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second half, Timmy catches fire. Why? Because the bigs get in foul trouble. And I didn't think that those fouls were really that. I don't know. It just felt like they were very inconsistent, and they've been inconsistent in every game. But
that's what you get with most
I think if Memphis's bigs could have stayed in the game, they win that game.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's like the thing though is with
know.
every refs is that like nowadays is that it's kind of hard for refs not to be a little biased because you hear like Gonzaga and you're like, oh yeah, and then you hear like all these top tier teams and you kind of want to root for them, and then it's like, but the thing is that refs are like, so I think refs don't try to be biased, but sometimes they just personally are. Like with Tampa Bay, like the Tampa Bay Bucks and like, you know, like the Patriots. I don't think they meant to be biased and relatively. I mean, some might have been, but like I think they were just kind of unconsciously biased. Like they didn't mean to be, but they kind of just did because of all the things that they saw.
The extent of my reffing experience was Boys and Girls Club, so I didn't know anybody, like, so I had no bias.
I'm gonna be honest. Like for me, when I was ref like Little League flag football, if a coach was straight up yelling at me the whole game, I was not gonna give him a call. Like if they're straight up just like being horrible, I'm not gonna give them a call.
I feel like it's the opposite in college basketball though. Like the ref can't talk. The coaches that really work the refs seem to get makeup calls after doing that sometimes.
Yeah, well sometimes you see it and you're like, they clearly call something that you missed and you're like, oh shoot, and then you kind of listen to them a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's pretty hard to ref, not gonna lie. You cannot judge refs because it's hard. If you haven't done it,
is hard.
It's hard. It's very hard.
I was doing like youth games and I was still struggling, man.
Dude,
there's so much you have to watch.
Horrible. Yeah, and like even the youth.
It's
games,
crazy, like how good they are at getting the hard stuff, like the stuff that's almost impossible to see, and then some of the obvious stuff just slips. I
know, it's crazy.
It's just, I don't know.
It's also hard with like little leagues too because it's not the exact rules as like NFL and like college and high school. So it's
there's
not.
a lot more subjectivity in that. Like you gotta.
You know, in it, you have to know.
Playing like 5-year-olds basketball and they take like 12 steps. I'm like, well, do I really want to call that?
Yeah, and it's like they don't even really like. They can't hardly even shoot the ball.
And you got the
that.
opposing parents that care way too much. You know, like, oh, that's a travel.
Yeah, it's so
if you call it travel, everyone's gonna be like, come on, man.
Like, come on. They're like 5. Yeah, like.
I don't know. So the Final Four, that was March Madness talk, I guess. The Final Four is Duke versus UNC and Villanova versus Kansas. It's pretty cool because UNC obviously ruined Coach K's last home game. Now they get another shot at them. First time these two teams have ever met in the tournament, which is kind of crazy to think about. So, I'll give my predictions, and if you're smart, you'll take this and pick the exact opposite, as we talked about earlier. Yep. I think. Okay, I actually didn't. I came in here knowing what I wanted to say, and now that I think about it, I just have no idea. I'm going to go Kansas over Villanova.
That one was the harder one, in my opinion.
I'm going to go Kansas. I did not believe in Villanova at the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah,
I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong.
I think I got them in like the second or
dead wrong.
First or second round.
They're the best free throw shooting team of all time.
Yeah.
All time. And I was against them. I don't know why. But Duke UNC, man. Duke UNC. I think North Carolina gets them again. I do. And then I think Kansas takes it over North Carolina in the championship. Mm-hmm. That's tough, though. You could make a strong case for any of these 4 teams.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
For me, let me start with Villanova and Kansas. I'm going to go Villanova. I really do like free throws. And if you were listening to last episode that we had, the only thing that I was using to measure what teams I was picking was their defensive percentage and their free throw shooting.
That's true.
So I guess I have to stick with that. As for Duke and UNC, I really liked UNC going into it. I even had them in my Final Four, so I'm going to pick UNC here. I got to stick with UNC.
UNC Villanova, that's a rematch of one of the best games of all time a couple years ago.
The thing that kind of scares me is that, like you said, there is the headline where it's like Duke is mad because their final home game was spoiled by UNC, and they're like out for blood, And it's like, Coach K, this is his final season.
But let's not act like UNC isn't determined to end Coach K's career.
Yeah, they're also like...
They ended his home career, now they could end his career in general. Like, that'd be huge.
I just don't think they're as motivated as, like, Duke would be to get that. But
I disagree. It's the Final Four. I feel like everyone is completely locked in.
So, I'm kind of nervous. I'm not as
yeah, these are tough games to pick.
I really want UNC to win, and I do think I'm going to pick them, but I don't know. It could go either way, if I'm going to be honest.
So UNC or Villanova in your championship?
I'm going to stick with... I'm going to UNC. I'm going to UNC. I don't
got to.
They
were the Final Four.
The
they were the Final Four pick you got right. You got to ride with them.
All the
Kansas was the Final Four pick I got right, so I'm riding with them.
Yeah, got to ride it.
All right.
But it'll be interesting. And I also heard about this where it's like, just college basketball may not be the most favorite sport in general, but it does have one of the best events.
Oh yeah.
Like with the Super Bowl, some people don't like football.
Super Bowl is not that fun to watch.
Everyone watches the Super Bowl.
I don't think the Super Bowl is that fun to watch.
Yeah, and
it's honestly one of my least favorite games of the year.
Yeah,
there are so many commercials.
Too,
the halftime is so long.
Well, the commercials suck now.
Yeah,
it used to be so hyped up because all these good ones.
They're just so long. The Super Bowl is not that enjoyable for me anymore. Obviously, it's football. It's like the biggest game of the year, so it's cool.
I feel like the playoff games are more interesting than the actual Super Bowl.
The playoff games leading up are so much better.
Yeah.
Especially, it's always the divisional round. The divisional round is always so good, I feel like. But
and then I feel like for the NBA, I feel like, and even for the MLB a little bit, I don't really like the build-up, I guess, or the finals for it because it's just 7 games and you're kind of extended on it. It gives you a better chance to watch it, but
single elimination is probably more exciting, but
because you've already seen it,
The thing about the NBA and the MLB is the better team wins almost every time.
Yeah,
and so some people like that, some people don't. But these are not the 4 best college basketball teams this year.
Yeah, it's just upsets.
No way. St. Peter's was not one of the 8 best teams in the country this year.
Yeah,
it's just how it works in March Madness. So
it's pretty interesting. I like it.
Something like this would never happen in the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't think an 8 seed has ever won 2 rounds in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but I know the Warriors upset the 1 seed Mavericks one time, which was insane. It's like a huge thing, and I don't know. The better team almost always wins in the NBA.
Yeah. But it's pretty interesting, but that's how we feel. On to MLB.